Hello, welcome to the daily English news program on Azərbaycan Television with the most important events of the day. I am your host, İlham Məmmədov. President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, İlham held a meeting with Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Mikhail Mishustin.
Уважаемый Михаил Владимирович, уважаемые гости.
Dear Mikhail Vladimirovich, dear guests, welcome. I'm glad to see you again in Azerbaijan. I know that yesterday's meeting with your colleague was very productive. He briefed me in the morning on the positive outcomes and our future plans. We have successfully completed the year. Our bilateral interaction is developing as intended. For just over 2 years, we have been collaborating within the framework of allied interaction, and all the tasks set for strengthening cooperation have been successfully accomplished. Regarding the trade and economic sphere, I also consider the results quite satisfactory, with a growth of more than 17%. I think it's a good indicator. We are already approaching the 4.5 billion mark, but naturally this is not the limit. I am confident that within the framework of the agreements reached during the visit next year and by the end of this year, we will see even greater growth in the bilateral trade. I'm glad that industrial cooperation projects are being implemented. This is a relatively new area for our cooperation. Russian companies in Azerbaijan are establishing new manufacturing facilities, service centers, and all of this also contributes to more comprehensive cooperation in the industrial sector. In agriculture, I reviewed the materials before your visit. We complement each other. What we need, we acquire from you and vice versa. We're also pleased that a significant growth in the supply of Azerbaijani agricultural products to the Russian market, as we agreed, continues successfully. And of course, the transportation and logistics sphere, which you talked about a lot yesterday, and relevant documents were signed. Here too, we see growth in transit shipments and bilateral cargo transportation. The International North-South Transport Corridor is a project that unites our countries. And as you know, we're actively collaborating on implementing all necessary matters. As we know, infrastructure exists on Azerbaijan and Russian territory. However, it requires modernization to transport volumes of cargo larger than planned. And of course, the humanitarian sphere. Here I believe that the relationship between Russia and Azerbaijan can serve as an example of relations between two neighboring friendly states. In 26 Azerbaijani universities, teaching is conducted in Russian, with over 16,000 students, citizens of Azerbaijan, being educated in Russian. 324 secondary schools also provide education in Russian language. We have preserved all the good that had united our people for decades, and regardless of the social-political formation in which we interacted, friendly relations between our peoples have always been the foundation of intergovernmental relations. And today, as intergovernmental relations have reached a qualitatively new level, both in form and content, and is naturally supported by the public of our countries as well. So I am confident that, like last year, we will conclude this year with positive results. Our allied interaction, which is also an important factor for regional stability and security, will strengthen for the benefit of our countries and peoples. Once again, I welcome you and must now wish you a safe journey as your visit concludes. And of course, I believe it would be beneficial to have regular meetings at the level of heads of governments, following the example of regular meetings between heads of state. Dear Ilham Hidarovich, dear friends, firstly allow me to extend my heartfelt congratulations on your resounding victory in the early presidential election in Azerbaijan held on February 7th. This is a high appraisal by the Azerbaijani people of the efforts and accomplishments achieved under your leadership in your country. And of course, I would like to seize this opportunity to convey the warmest and best wishes from President of Russia, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. We maintain constant communication and meet regularly with Prime Minister of Azerbaijan, Ali Hidayetovich Asadov. We have recently met in Moscow during the Commonwealth of Independent States Forum in December, and prior to that, we have convened in Sochi. I seem to have visited Azerbaijan just recently, but I want to assure you that all the decisions made between the leaders of our states are closely monitored and executed by our respective governments. Yesterday, we discussed a wide range of bilateral issues. You mentioned several areas, and there are increasingly more projects in industry. We're also considering a joint project in the field of transportation and engineering. There are also promising directions for large-scale mutual technological and innovative projects. We're working on agriculture. You mentioned the additions. We also have the number of questions regarding pharmaceuticals. Yesterday, we agreed to ramp up work in this area as well. Essentially, the entire range of our mutual projects is under our control today. And this is evidenced by the figures of mutual trade and economic turnover. You mentioned a growth of 17%. That's exactly it. I also want to state that the transit capacities at our border crossings have increased fivefold. This is also significant systematic work that was carried out by our Minister of Transport jointly with our respected colleagues from Azerbaijan. We continue to pursue all relevant logistics projects here as well. You mentioned the North-South corridor, and indeed, the transportation of 30 million tons represented a substantial initial volume. There's still much work to be done to address bottlenecks along the route. I also want to express with great respect that we organize a memorable event dedicated to the centenary of the birth of your father, esteemed Heydar Aliyevich Aliyev. In Russia, he is remembered and his memory is honored. Regarding cultural exchange and issues related to interaction here, there are numerous projects and ideas. Today, I visited the Russian Drama Theater, where discussions on cultural cooperation took place. We agreed to expand our contacts, including with the Minister of Culture of Azerbaijan. We are working on a roadmap for conducting a large number of events. And of course, we will be happy to see respected figures from Azerbaijan's culture and artistic community in Russia, in Moscow. I extend my gratitude to you and colleagues for the warm and traditional hospitable reception provided to the Russian delegation.
President Ilham Aliyev continues to receive letters of congratulations. President of the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, José Ramos Horta, and President of the Republic of Tunisia, Kais Saied, congratulated the head of state on being re-elected as the President of Azerbaijan. The state budget will cover the tuition fees of individuals with special needs for social protection of those who are studying in private educational institutions. This privilege will be granted to them through an amendment to the law on education. The draft law was discussed in the Milli Majlis.
The state will cover the education expenses of children who have lost their parents, those who are deprived of parental care, family members of martyrs, and other vulnerable categories who are receiving paid education in state, municipal, private, higher, secondary, and vocational educational institutions. This is a proposed amendment to the law on education. The state will also cover the educational expenses of children under 20 years old and whose parents have a disability resulting in more than 81% impairment of body functions, as well as children of individuals with a monthly income below the subsistence minimum. During the committee meeting, amendments were made to draft laws on concessions for the families of martyrs, on the status and social protection of citizens affected by the Chernobyl accident, on the status of veterans, refugees and internally displaced persons, on the social protection of children without parental care, and on the perpetuation of the name of a martyr. The bills were recommended for the plenary session of the Parliament.
Visiting Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Mikhail Mishustin, visited the tomb of the nationwide leader, founder, and architect of the modern Azerbaijani state, Heydar Aliyev, at the Alley of Honor. Prominent ophthalmologist academician Zarife Aliyeva was also commemorated. Then Mikhail Mishustin visited the Alley of Martyrs. The Russian Prime Minister commemorated Azerbaijani heroes who had sacrificed their lives for their country's independence and territorial integrity. Mikhail Mishustin laid a wreath at the Eternal Flame Monument. You can get in touch with us via our WhatsApp and Telegram accounts at 051-511-1956, through which you can report events you encountered as well as share your suggestions and comments. That was all for the day. Thank you for being with us. Goodbye.